Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Free American. Russell Pappalardo will be my guest.
1 minute until showtime.
Oh, to start a war? Hello?
It embarrassed you.
Didn't it you?
Clear this line. My show starts in 1 minute. Get it together, Nick. We're broadcasting on Crusade on Truth Radio, trying to broadcast on Truth Radio, and we're on Blog Talk Radio. You're going to be listening to the Free American Clay Douglas. If Truth Radio gets
Your
your
show
shit
will go
together.
live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Now we can see a new world coming into view. A world in which there is a very real prospect of a new world order.
The New World Order does not mean surrendering our national sovereignty or forfeiting our interests.
He took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial.
How can I convince you when your ears refuse to hear? You turn your heart away from me each time when I draw near. Your eyes refuse to meet with mine, they glance away in fear.
Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
He is the Free American Clay Douglas. Catch the Free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon out of the sky and rock the sun.
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8631.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American. I am your host. I am Clay Douglas. My guest, my co-host for Fridays is Russell Pappalardo, the Mighty Phoenix. And I've got a few words from me, and then I've got a few words from Russell. And we'll give you understanding of the show, of the importance of the show, of what we're trying to tell you. My words, you were bred to be a slave in a tightly controlled society. Your chains are invisible. Your schools teach you to be content with your lot in life while they train you to follow orders. Your history has been changed gradually. Your grandfather knew more than your father and less than his. You are poisoned by birth, at birth, by mercury-contaminated vaccines, a time bomb, if you will. The poisoning continues throughout your teenage years and adulthood. And what we're going to be talking about is the fact that the United States is still a colony of England, and to get this through to you, here's the proof from Russell.
At the end of the above video are strong. And many of you will say, how did the Jews control America in the 1800s? Well, I'll tell you how. First of all, the United States is still a British colony. If you read the treaty after the so-called American Revolution, you would read that the king now granted the colonists to hunt and fish in his waters as long as the colonists paid taxes to the crown. By the way, that's where your income tax money goes, to the crown. That doesn't mean to the king or queen of England. It means the crown. The crown is located in the city of London, which is a separate country owned by the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds own England. They own Great Britain. And Parliament has been controlled by the Jews since the days of King Charles in the 1620s. So here we go. We take one step to another to another. The Jews control Great Britain. In fact, the very word Brit means man of the covenant. Hence the word British. You folks got to learn your etymology, the study of root words, not from a dictionary where they changed everything into their version of Orwellian newspeak. You got to study etymology. So the Jews own Great Britain, and Great Britain owns the United States. Of course, it's one of the greatest secrets ever told, but it's a bona fide fact. Google or YouTube, the United States is still a British colony. There's a book with over 600 pages on that topic, and the proof and the evidence is there. So the Jews controlled the United States indirectly back then, not like it is overtly today, where they tell the congressman who's going to be a senator or who gets nominated for president. So facts are facts. They were the ones that told the military to go out and kill and massacre Indians. And as far as running bear goes, there isn't an Indian that existed. And I hate to use the word Indian because they're really indigenous peoples, great peoples. There wasn't one that wasn't a powerful swimmer. Running bear, in truth, if he ever existed, could have swam that wide river 5 times while it was raging. So the story is bogus. It's another Hollywood musical industry bogus version of something that most likely did happen. That's all, folks.
All right, and now to bring my guest up. All right.
I live alone.
The mighty Phoenix.
And I live in Hudson, Florida, on the Spring Hill.
The mighty Phoenix. Russell Pappalardo. Hello, Russell. Can you hear me all right?
Good morning, Clay. Yes, I hear you. Hold on a minute. Can you hear me better now?
New York City.
I'm hearing something else going on. I don't know.
Could you hear me?
I can hear
What
you.
am I looking for? Very good question. I came on these sites to check the validity of the site.
There's something else playing.
I'm on the air, and you're on the air, and if you could hear me, I could hear you.
You were playing something else.
what's
You're
that
playing a
about
video. Russell, you are playing a video somewhere.
Fake pictures, how they get verified.
I think you are playing a
I
video
can hear you.
somewhere.
There are a plethora of different ways, but they do it.
Okay, all right. Never mind. I was playing your video. That's what I was getting, what I had up here. Sorry about that. Now I can hear you. Hopefully. We can hear each other.
Let's
Everything
talk
works.
about this so-called American Revolution in the United States. It's allegedly a sovereign nation, which it is not. First of all, the American Revolution was not fought over that nonsensical statement made in our history books and taught to us in the public school system, in the schools that indoctrinate and brainwash Americans, saying that taxation without representation is tyranny. That had nothing to do with it. The reason was the colonies were doing very, very, very well. And why were they doing very well? They were doing very well because they were printing and coining their own money, which was backed up by tangible substance that we know as gold. And there were some other commodities. I'm sure you had a lot of silver in there. Well, England didn't like that, so they took away, they stripped the United States colonists from printing their own money. Everybody went broke. You had to use English money, which was backed up by nothing because the Rothschild Jews, Zionist Jews, controlled England, and they had since the Jews took over the Parliament in the days of the early 1600s, in the days of King Charles, in the days of Cromwell, who actually the Jews actually believed might have been their mistake, because what Cromwell did was kill Christians for the Jews who ran Parliament. They have ran England ever since, and we don't pay. And at the end of the treaty of the so-called American Revolution, written in the treaty, is the statement that the King George now gives the colonists permission to hunt and fish in his waters as long as we, the colonists, or the Americans, pay taxes to the crown. That don't sound like we want anything. And in fact, the crown is not the king. The crown is the House of Rothschild, located in the city of London, which is a separate entity, a separate nation, a nation within a nation, as is the Vatican, and as is the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is not part of the United States. It is a separate nation, again, as is the Vatican and the City of London. You folks have to wake up. You've been fooled. You've been had. You've been taken. You've been bamboozled. You've been led astray. You've been run amok, and you've been mesmerized. This is not a free country. It is owned by Great Britain. It's a colony, and Great Britain is owned by the Jews. In fact, the very word Brit means man of the covenant. The covenant that an archon, a demonic spirit who call themselves Yahweh or Jehovah, made with a Brahmin priest named Abram, who changed his name to Abraham. Even wanted him to kill his firstborn, which was part of the Hindu caste system, which the elders do. That's all it is, folks. Abraham or Abram, whatever you want to call him, made a covenant with the storm god of the High Coast Kings, who is known as the Demiurge or Ialdabaoth by the Greeks, and is known as an archon in the Dead Sea Scrolls or the Nag Hammadi Scrolls, which your pastors and your priests don't want you to read. They want you to read the Bible, and only what they tell you to read in the Bible. They don't want you to have your own mind. They don't want you to think outside the box. They want you to be a stupipede, a robo-sapien, an emasculated, Judaicized Elohai, because that's the only way they can control you. Because if you think out of the box and stand up for what you know is right, and you do the thing that you ought to do at the time you ought to do it, and follow only one set of laws, the 50 cosmic and spiritual laws of the universe, which can be summed up by the golden rule of the Gnostic Master, the Lord of the Magi, Jesus, the light bearer, when he said, do unto others the way you would want them to do to you. Of course, they took out, and I'm sure they did, because you have the right to stop anyone from infringing upon your free will. In other words, you don't have to accept what's unacceptable, especially if you're following the spiritual and cosmic laws of the universe and the golden rule of the Master. But they don't want you to know that. They want you to believe that you are nothing but a biological entity, not a spiritual being imprisoned in a biological or corporal body. That's a no-no. You have to go along with the program, their program, because you're being programmed by their television, their Talmud vision, all their silly sitcoms, all the lies they tell to you on the mendacious corporate and Zionist-owned media, the lies that they told you, that they had their mongrel dogs, the teachers who brainwash your children 6 days a week, and of course the nonsense, as I alluded to, that's taught to you in the Redeemer religions of Judeo-Christianity, Judaism, and of course Islam. They don't want you to know the facts, that Jesus didn't come to start a religion. He came to wake you up and convince you that religion is not necessary, because religion calls for a savior outside of yourself. And Jesus taught that you are the savior that you've been looking for. You are the redeemer. And until you realize that, you will be bound to endless incarnations or lifetimes on what seems to be a never-ending wheel of reincarnation. And you'll always be back in, you could call it hell or purgatory, prison planet Earth. That's where it's at, folks. And if you can't swallow the bitter pill of truth, you better hang it up, because you wasted an entire lifetime. And I don't care if you're 19 years old or if you're 69 years old. It doesn't matter. It's time to snap out of the coma. You're never too late. It's time to realize that you are the creator. Your thoughts create. As you think it in your heart, so are you. And that is what will manifest, because you will draw what you give out. What you reap, you will sow. That's how the universe works. Action, reaction, cause, effect. That's the correct definition of what you folks call the law of karma. The universe bases itself on harmony. If you send out disharmonious thoughts into hyperspace, that's what will come back to you. And you will never get out of this bondage of reincarnation. You will never feel the bliss of being entirely, completely free. You will always be looking over your shoulder, staying one step ahead of the sheriff, always apprehensive of what you did in the past was right or wrong, and if you're going to get caught. It's silly. Anxiety must be abandoned. The biggest disappointments that you'll face ever in life are the ones that never actually occur. So you're upsetting yourself for nothing. You got to be bold. Be bold and go out on a limb, because that's where the fruits are. And when you're bold, mighty forces will come to your aid. If you're not bold and you don't act, and you have to act because action cures fear, your prayers will never be answered, because heaven never helped the man or woman who didn't act upon his beliefs. If you go around, folks, seeking the approbation of your fellow man, who is nothing but a poor parrot and a mind-controlled slave, you will always live in a terrible state of dread, apprehension, and worry. It's time to take a stand, because the chains are being forged around you are almost done, almost complete. Your bondage in a short time, if you don't do something about it, will not just be mental, it will be physical. Because a great storm is coming, and with it will bring death on mighty wind. Care to comment on that, Clay?
Well, yeah, I'd like to comment on that. I grew up without a father. My mother and grandmother pretty much raised me. But my mother was a worrier. She was always worried about the bills, worried how she was going to make a living, worried about her job. And I finally told her, Mom, don't worry about anything that you can't handle. If you can't do something about it, it doesn't do you any good to worry about it. And if you can do something about it, if you can fix it, then do that. Don't worry about it. Just fix it. And that's really what I think that's applicable to all of our listeners out there, all of our audience, all the people in America. Russell and I are trying to tell you how things really are. The Pope ain't sent by God. England was the empire on which the sun never sets. And we've got to realize that. We've got to analyze what's happened here. The Jews do run England. The Jews used England, Lord Balfour, to give away the country of Palestine. The Palestinians had lived in that area for thousands of years, and Lord Balfour and England didn't have any ability or way to give it away. So they maneuvered, they tried to set up the League of Nations first. That didn't work because Russia and the United States wouldn't sign on to it. So then we fought World War II with Hitler, who had brought the English people, or the German people, out of the control of Khazaria, defeated Khazaria, and but you're not told any of that. You don't realize that even Jesus warned you about the Jews who say they're Jews, but are not, are of the synagogue of Satan. 2,000 years ago, he warned you about that, and your churches don't tell you about that verse. Don't tell you the warnings that Jesus gave, and they don't illustrate and they don't elucidate on the fact that it was those so-called Jews that murdered Jesus. What? And you're following those religions? Yeah, check your church out. Check your Baptist church out. See if it's got a Masonic cornerstone there. And good morning, Jerry. Good morning, Cyanide. Marco, welcome to the chat room. We will be kicking out any of the assholes. They've started coming into the chat room now, Russell, under guest. I mean, if you don't sign up for Blog Talk, then they bring you in. You can get in and listen to the you can get into the chat room as a guest, number 214, 232. They've started coming in under that and just signed it in as guest and stealing the names. We've got Jerry here in the chat room. Jerry, L-I-T. And so then they sign in and add a letter to his name and sign in to try to disrupt. They are scared to death. The Jews and all of their little Christian lackeys are Muslim lackeys because they control both sides. Matter of fact, the last issue of the Free American I put out, the March issue that they tried to kill me over, I had the whole plan of the banksters, how they funded both sides of every conflict, and how they had to create our enemies. That's where the Muslims have come from. They created our enemies. And, you know, think about this, Russell. They try to say we're a danger, trying to see us say, oh, the militia, you know, if you own guns, you're dangerous. They want you to be afraid of us because we're telling you the truth. And so they've created our own enemies. ISIS, that if you really want to, we talk about Al-Qaeda, and I've told people to pronounce it right. That's Al-CIA-da, duh. And now we've got ISIS, which is the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. And we're trying to wake you up, folks. You are in danger. You are in danger here. How do we fight it, though? You can't just go, they want us, they're trying to divide us from the police. The police are being sent to Israel because, oh, Israel knows how to handle terrorists, and then they're trying to say that the Palestinians who've been there for thousands of years, before the Jews ever even had a name, oh, the Palestinians are the terrorists, the Palestinians are dangerous. And so what are they doing? They're bombing schools, they're bombing, they're killing Palestinians just because they're Palestinians? That doesn't make sense. Unless that's, of course, actually it makes perfect sense. It's what they're trying to do is what they do.
Well, Clay, it makes perfect sense to the disturbed, discombobulated, and mangled, brainwashed mind. That's why they mind control you and brainwash you to condition you to accept such unadulterated nonsense that is ridiculous. To call a man a terrorist who is defending his homeland against a foreign invader who happens to be a Turco-Finnish Mongoloid race of non-Semitic Jews who J.R.R. Tolkien referred to in his great work, The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, as the shadow from the east, or orcs. Because that's what these Jews are, orcs. And by the way, we have a great topic, folks, to talk about, but we're not going to get into that till 11 o'clock until a colleague of ours, a young fellow by the name of David, calls in. We're going to talk about the counterculture of the 1960s and what really happened, and I'm going to shock you, and unfortunately, and I don't want to offend you, because I know you're sincere, the ones who I don't want to offend when I speak about what I speak about, and I'll give you the proof because it's shocking. But right now, I said on Facebook that I would expose the dating sites for what they really in truth are. So I will. Now, with the exception of certain dating sites like Zoosk, Our Time, and probably eHarmony, most of these sites are what you call fraudulent. First of all, you get a message from a very sexy woman, usually half nude or in very loose lingerie, looking hot, smoking and hot can be, telling you, sending you a message. Then you can't read the message because you haven't upgraded. They get you to spend money to upgrade. Then you'll get another message back from this gal. You may get it, you may not get it, and you'll answer it, and then you'll get another message that is very incongruent to the message that you say. It doesn't seem to make sense. There's a reason for this, because the gal you're talking to, or think you're chatting with, oh, I hate that word chatting, it's nothing more than glorified typing, is nothing more than an image on a computer screen. I've researched this for 8 months due to a friend of mine who joined a dating site and spent almost $400 and got no results. And this is a good-looking guy who's made it with more women than most of you out there. And I found out that what these dating sites are doing is buying in bulk from galleries pictures of very enticing, sensuous, earthy women. The ones they don't buy, they get off by taking images off porn sites and then concocting their own profile. So the message you're really getting, although it may seem good, is not real, because the person that you're looking at doesn't exist at all except on your computer screen.
Let me expand on that, Russell.
To your advantage.
Let me expand on that, Russell.
Let me continue for a minute, Clay.
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
What they are women who are actually employed by the sites, leading you on, and you'll get nowhere. It's ridiculous. If you should expose these dating sites, there's a link on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com, the / and then Phoenix Speaks 1, and then the other / I think the backward / I'm not sure. And you'll find out that the whole thing is one fraud in order to get you guys out there to spend your money. Because in desperate times, desperate men make desperate moves. What amazes me is how this is not controllable, how some could sell something. You see, I'm an old closer, an old salesman, and I believe that if you is selling anything, if you tell them the truth about the product you're selling, I don't care what tactics you use in selling it. It's fine with me as long as you don't lie about the product. These people are lying about the product from day one because there is product. It's an illusion. It's an image on a fracking computer screen. So guys, be very, very cautious. Very cautious. Money is tight, don't give it away. Speaking about money, if you're looking to make extra money, you can contact me at rjppapa@yahoo.com, and I could show you how to make money for working 15 to 30 minutes a day tops, putting ads on Craigslist, just $3 a day, in the state that you're located in, as long as you live in the continental United States. No Hawaii, no Alaska, and no Puerto Rico. If you live within the boundaries of ocean to ocean, you can make money working, not for me, but with me. Contact me at rjppapa@yahoo.com. And if you're a business owner active for 2 or more years and are doing at least $20,000 a month in volume, all the way up to whatever, it could be $1 million a month, I can get you business money within 8 business days, regardless of your credit rating. Because business money is not paid back with credit scores. It's paid back, that is, business money borrowed is paid back by business money earned. If you're doing business and you could prove it with bank statements, I could get you the capital you need, and quickly. Speaking also about money, this show I do once a week with Clay, and Clay does it every day. And unfortunately, he's not making a dime, and it costs money to be on Blog Talk. Time, it's effort, getting guests all around the country and outside the country who know what they're talking about, who speak the truth, not like the journalists on Zionist-controlled media. So, in fact, we are the real news. And we need your donations. Clay needs your donations. I need your donations to keep this station afloat. There's only so much that we could do. We've had people recently send in $200 donations. Very not young people. People who are waking up and know they can't go back to sleep. They know that the American dream is nothing more than an American dream. You got to be asleep, as George Carlin said, to believe it. So, folks, send us a donation, whether it's $200, $300, $400, $500, even if it's $50, even if it's $25. Send in a donation, which you could donate by going to freeamerican.com and send it in through PayPal. Clay, my partner here, needs the money to conduct this train, which many of you already know is the Phoenix Express. It's one of the very few trains within the United States that'll take you out of Robo-Sapia, which is the United States, the land of the Robo-Sapien, directly to Freedom Land, known to the world as Phoenix Land. Send in a donation. We really need it. We're not beggars. We're not going to live off your money, buying new cars, new clothing.
Yeah, let me address that. Hang on,
we just need your money to stay afloat.
Take a breath, Russell. Take a breath, because you touched on my favorite subject here. Last presidential election, the Republicans and Democrats, which are two wings of the same bird, and the bird's a global vulture, you Republicans and Democrats, you Christians, you Jews out there donated almost $1 billion to the Republicans and Democrats. Republicans might have got just a little bit more than the Democrats. Where did that money go? Where did your money go to get this list of politicians that have sold you out? It's available. They've signed up for you. You financed them. Where did that money go? It went to the television stations, the radio stations, the newspapers, who will tell you what they got, who to vote for. If they don't tell you who you can vote for, then you got no idea. You got no way of knowing who these people are. But the Republicans and the Democrats that are in the House or the Senate, they're all lawyers. They work for the bar associations as a British accredited register. And what are you going to do? You're going to finance these people with your donations. I ask you for a donation, and you don't want to send it because why? I am a these trolls here now, they're just coming in, making a lewd statement, and logging right back out again before I can even kick them. They're getting frustrated because we're telling you the truth. And they are scared to death if I get through to you and you start financing me and Russell and the people I have on my show, like John Kaminsky, who tells you the truth about the Jews, if I'm successful and I reach you, we've got worldwide communication now. One of my guests in the chat room is from the Netherlands. We are reaching all over the world. This is not a local situation. This is a global situation. And they don't call it the New World Order for nothing, and they don't call television programming for nothing. We're telling you the truth here. We're telling you the truth about history. Russell is absolutely right. From the days of Napoleon, Rothschild profited from the war with Napoleon because they lied to you.
You know, I once heard, and it's probably true, that the only time Europe has been out and not under Illuminati control since the 1770s was during the Napoleonic era. That's why they needed to defeat Napoleon. He might have borrowed money from them, or what I call the Iron Bank, the Rothschild Bank. I use the term Iron Bank for those of you who watch Game of Thrones, because that's what it really is an allusion to. If you see watch Game of Thrones and see the individuals who represent the Iron Bank, you would say they're clearly Jewish looking. That's the actual reality. Money talks, and the Rothschilds have the power to fund any war, both sides of the conflict, control both sides. Just like Clay spoke about that they control both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. Clay says they're two wings of the same vulture. I like that, but I like to say they're two sides of the same tin coin, manufactured by a tinker nobility, a make-believe nobility. Oh yeah, they're royal, all right, if you define royal blood by blue blood or reptilian blood. These people, these Jews, and even before the Jews controlled this so-called New World Order, which is anything but new, have always been controlled by an extraterrestrial or interdimensional demonic race. And if you doubt me on that one, on extraterrestrials, I suggest you Google the extraterrestrial law, which has been on the books since the early 1990s. The mayor of Spokane, Washington, back in 91 or 92, published it in the newspaper Spokane. But there is an actual law on the books that you cannot converse with extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrial defined as an entity that can beam in and out of physical reality, in other words, interdimensional. If you have Congress or speak with or found to be collusion of any type or converse with an extraterrestrial, NASA can jail you indefinitely. An alien they don't worry about. A person from Mars or an entity from Mars is not considered an extraterrestrial. They're considered they're considered alien. The difference is alien is a biological entity, cannot beam in and out of physical reality. Extraterrestrial means they can beam in and out of physical reality. Folks, like everything else you've been taught, you know, it's like the school system, the public school system. I'll tell you 4 big lies I was taught. You might have heard them in that video. Maybe you couldn't understand it. The first one was that the United States in the 21st century would be, and I was told this by my science and biology teachers in high school, would be a utopia. Well, it's not. It's a dystopia. It's a collective old geek. It's a world dictatorship. It's a totalitarian police state. It's a kosher sewage plant. It's a sewer, a cesspool of deceit, lies, dogma, and propaganda. That's what the 21st century is, especially here in the land of the lie, America. And I spell America A-M-E-R-E-C-K-A. America, because the country stinks. As it is right now. You have a foreign power occupying the nation's capital, which, as I said, is a separate country. That foreign power is Israel. Non-Semitic Jews who cause all the problems in the world. It's not good. Both parties are controlled by AIPAC that choose every candidate for every election. Your elections are an illusion of choice. They're worthless. And your peaceful protests don't mean anything. The only way you're going to stop these people is by hurting them and hurting them bad where it hurts most, and that's the pocketbook. You got to boycotts made by Israeli companies. You got to boycott GMO foods. You can't buy them. GMO foods outlawed in Russia completely now, and they're outlawed in about 30 different countries. And yet on the shelves in our supermarkets, there's at least 30 items that are genetically modified. Genetically modified foods are toxic, as are fast foods. They're all part of a plan to develop and weaken you so you cannot fight back in the of a physical, violent conflict.
Russell?
You cannot allow this to happen. You have to always be ready. We don't want bloodshed, but if it comes, we got to be ready. And the only way to do that is to work out 5 or 6 days a week, a different body part a day, walk, learn some sort of martial art, boxing, an art where you could fight off several attackers, lock and load, have weapons ready, whatever they may be, knowing that you don't want to use them, but you'll have to use them. Defend yourself when they use their weapons against you. You have to speak out, because if you don't speak out, evil will triumph. The world will not be destroyed by evil. It'll be destroyed by good men and women who speak and do nothing. They shut up and take it, saying they don't want to notice. They don't want their head to come out of the sand. What they don't know don't hurt. Well, it's already hurt them. They're slaves, and they can't see the forest for the trees. In fact, put it another way, they're not only slaves, they're slaves. Because they keep doing the same thing time after time, expecting a different result. Every 4 and every 2 years, go to the polls and vote and think they depart. They did jack shit. They made it worse. Every politician is to do one thing: pass laws under the guise, under the illusion, under the chicanery, under the act, under the lie that is common good, but in truth is for the enslavement of mankind. Taking away your rights one by one through gradualism till it comes to a point where you'll have no rights and you won't even remember that you once had them. That's what's happening in America. America is the land of the lie. It's the home of the slave, controlled by knaves and owned by pigs, and these pigs happen to be Jewish. Picture a pig with a nose and beady eyes and a yarmulke on his head. Well, that's who owns America, folks, and if I offended you, I don't give a frack. It's a thing of no interest, because billions of liars, cowards, and politically correct, parroting fools mean jack to me. I tell it like it is. If you can't handle the bitter pill of truth, shame on you. You'll always be a slave. That's my sentiments on the matter, and my sentiments are true and correct. I follow the spiritual and cosmic laws of the universe, which you could get from YouTube. I follow the golden rule of them, but I do unto others the way I would want them unto me. But I will not let anyone, no government, no Redeemer religion, no journalist or media, or no mongrel dog who teaches in the pubic schools to tell me what to do. No way. It's my thing. I do what I want to do. The only route Freedom is civil disobedience. Yes, you do it covertly. Because the obedient, as Henry David Thoreau said, must become slaves. Yeah, go out there, get a job, go to school, brainwash, get married, pay taxes, obey your government, do everything we tell you. Now, repeat after me. I am free. Who the frack are they kidding? The best slave to own, a slave who erroneously thinks he's free. And there are none more hopelessly enslaved than those, as Von Gogh said, who believe falsely that they are free. You're not free, folks. This is not a free country. You got more presidents per capita than any country in the world, compared to the regular population.
Let's think about that for just a second. Just hold on.
You have poverty.
Take a breath. Take a breath, Russell. This is what we got. Nothing on this chat room except for 2 people. I've got 2 people in the chat room, and the rest of them are trolls coming in, trying to disrupt, trying to say something wrong, trying to do what they can to piss me off. Well, that ain't a hard thing to do, and they can do it on the internet because, well, then they can hide. Then they don't have to face anybody. And they are scared to death of me. They won't face me. They won't do this in public. If they do, they have a little old lady. If I'm at a meeting here, like the Truth Seekers down in Austin, we have a little old lady that jumps up and goes, but my grandmother was Jewish. My grandmother was Jewish. I don't care who your grandmother slept with. I don't care. It's, they've got new tactics on here. They just come in, say one word, and then log out before I can even kick them. Doesn't matter to me. I see they're gone. I don't care. But, I was going to make a comment about what you talked about earlier. After I had my accident, I tried some of these dating sites. I went on the dating sites. And I found that most of them were from Nigeria or from Ghana. And they were simply black kids, black men, using those pictures, using the models, pictures of models, and trying to suck somebody in. Well, I'm going to school over here in Nigeria. I'm going to nursing school in Nigeria. Yeah, right, sure you are. Sure you are.
You know what, Clay? That's another entity within itself. That you could eliminate by putting you will not go on the dating site. You don't want to get any messages from someone who's not verified. You could do that with a site, I think it's Loveaholics and a couple others. Because besides what I talked about, you have the African problem. You have guys or gals, you don't know who they are, in Ghana, putting up phony pictures. And it's always the same story. They were born in the States, but they had to go to Ghana to school for nursing, or they had to go help their sick granny out. And if you chat with them, if you're foolish enough to, unless you're trying to set them up, it'll always come up that they need money to fix their camera, to fix their computer. Can you help them? And they will tell you the biggest crock of shit that you ever heard in your life of how much they love you. They've even met you. Please send them the money so you could come and they could come and stay with you in the States. Meanwhile, I don't know what happened to the nursing school, if they're going to leave nursing school or leave the sick granny, or they need money to help granny out. You know, I helped Granny out, just like the big bad wolf helped Granny out. You know, who the frack are they kidding? So you got that too. That's another aspect of the dating sites. The Ghana, the West Africa, and they all will say, it's amazing. They'll put up that they're from Spain, they're from Italy, they're from the UK, but they're all from Ghana. It seems to be a land of scam with no rules or regulations.
Nigeria. I took this to the
Nigeria too.
I took this to the FBI. I went into the FBI office. I said, I've got all the documentation on this. There's nothing we can do about it, Clay. There's nothing we can do about it. There's no extradition treaty with Nigeria. So the Jews are going to Nigeria and setting up these rooms, employing these black men to pretend to be white women because there's no extradition treaty.
I don't know if that's all Jews. I just think there are scammers over there that don't, you know. I'm sure the Jews have some hands. Well, you know, they own most of the dating sites, so they Jews get you in a more sophisticated way. The Jews are not stupid. They are very shrewd, cunning, conniving lot. And they know how to manipulate. They know how to close a deal. If these Ghana girls, it's the same bullshit. The Ghana in Nigeria, same crap. The grandmother is sick. Somebody's sick. And and it's always the same shit. I'm a good Christian woman. You know, she's a good Christian woman. She's sending you pictures of her ass, her pussy, her tits. Some of them go to Skype, and the ones that at least are real, but they'll still wind up asking you for money. Right? They'll do a dance for you on Skype, take off everything, and then they'll ask you to show them yourself. And if you do that, you're a horse's ass, because don't ever expose yourself on the internet, guys. Don't be fooled, because you don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know if you could be blackmailed or not. You want to expose yourself to your girlfriend
All right.
in the house.
I am going to
or your wife.
take this number down here, Russell. 985-273.
Go ahead. Go slow.
985.
You got to start again. Well, I can't hear you.
I'm starting again. 985-273-9914. Somebody wants to call in, wants to talk. They put their one up. They did this right. Hello, 985. Who are you? Where are you? And what can we do for you? 985 area.
Well, you ought to know me by now.
Tell me.
Good morning, David. David, you
I'm
there?
being heard well.
Okay, David. Now,
How you doing, Dave?
go ahead. You're on the air with me and Russell.
All right. Can you guys hear me very well?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I hear you fine.
All right. Well, today, I'm going to be bringing to the table maybe something not many people have heard of. This piece is called Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. Let's just say the whole counterculture, in a way, was meant to discredit the anti-war movement, to divide kids from their parents, each generation at a time from then on out. For instance, if you watch television, 1965, and you watch news, there are clean-cut American boys wearing suits talking about how this war in Vietnam just keeps escalating. And they got a lot of talented people on the side, the professors and the rest of the college crew, maybe even the college dean sometimes. Okay, this is 1965, like I said. And fast forward maybe a year and a half, or 2 years later, those same clean-cut kids you saw have long hair, are wearing outrageous clothes, lug beads, and Roman sandals. And the ordinary person at the time, the square society, as people back in the day probably call them, are looking at these people. What the hell? They look ridiculous. And a lot of people didn't really take them seriously after that. And it sort of worked for a while. So this whole organic grassroots movement that we're all meant to believe it was actually, you could say, was manipulated to go in a certain direction. And that's what Dave McGowan talks about in his book, Weird Teens Inside Laurel Canyon. Laurel Canyon is in L.A., little suburb, and they happen to have a very top secret. I couldn't tell you the name of it right offhand, but it's a top secret intelligence, military intelligence facility where they do all sorts of tests on people, preferably the MK Ultra mind experiment, and their mind control weapon at the time was not only being television, you could say, because they're smack dab in the middle of Hollywood, was also LSD, which indirectly was created by the CIA. Timothy Leary, who was supposed to promote it, admits that he was in fact a CIA informant, and the list goes on. Dave McGowan uncovers layers and layers upon lies that we haven't been privy to until just now because of such an intaking effort. Go ahead.
Let me interject. What David is talking about, folks, and I'm well aware, that's why I said I would be talking about this today at the counterculture movement of the mid to late 1960s, which started in about 64, 65. Me and Dave talked about this yesterday. He sent me a video on it. I watched it, and I was shocked. I always believed that the counterculture movement was a grassroots movement. Well, not so much a grassroots movement. It was just started by people who were fed up. And then it was infiltrated by the CIA in a movement that they call counterintelligence. They took it over and destroyed it, and then came out with disco music instead of rock music, protest music, to make everyone forget about the war and forget about the lives that were lost to 55,000 Americans that died for nothing, died to create a drug culture in the United States. But when I heard the video and what I saw in the video, I was shocked and appalled. It seems that in Laurel Canyon, outside of L.A., in this suburb, there is a secret military base. And on that base, believe it or not, lived the parents of stars like Jim Morrison, David Crosby, Stephen Stills, Neil Young. Yeah, they all worked together, That's where the movement really started. And there were actual photos of Jim Morrison with his dad on a naval ship. His father was a naval commander, and I'll get into that in a minute, with a crew cut, looking very collegian type, like a military guy. And then all of a sudden he winds up with the long hair, shaggy, and being a rebel. Then all of a sudden he commits suicide and disappears. His death wasn't even announced till he was in the ground. There was no autopsy. Is that him in the ground, or did he take on a different life? Is the movie Eddie and the Cruisers, who came out with a new style of music like Jim Morrison did, based on Jim Morrison's life? I think so. There are too many coincidences. And I'm not a believer in coincidences, because all things happen for a reason. You're going to tell me, when you have people like Jim Morrison, Neil Young, Stephen Stills, something's happening here. You know, what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man over there with a gun telling me I gotta beware. Hey, stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. His father worked for a secret military base, all their fathers did, and then this movement comes out? Come on, folks, wake up. That whole movement wasn't grassroots. It was started by the CIA in order to denigrate the war protesters. And that's what they did. See, people as a rule don't stand up on their own. They're too afraid to be singled. They don't want to be singled out. They don't want to go on a watch list, so they got to be motivated. And that's what the CIA did through MK Ultra. And Timothy Leary did work for the CIA. There's no question about that. Very good day, very good video. It was very shocking to me to learn that, how it just, I mean, the synchronicities are amazing. You have all these stars living in Laurel Canyon, and all their parents work for the military, and all of a sudden this movement starts in 64, 65. People thought it came from Hyde-Ashbury. Meanwhile, it was going on for years in Laurel Canyon. Not Briscoe, but outside of L.A.
Well, now let me...
Yeah, the spin-offs wound up in Hyde-Ashbury and in the...
That's why I like Veterans Today.
What's that?
Veterans Today. They were the ones that directed me to you and Clay, and then Veterans Today. That's where I got the idea of the first video I saw about this subject called Tie-Dye Spies. I like that, man.
Okay, I've got to tell you, I take credit for stopping the war in Vietnam. At least I was a major part of stopping the war. I started my first magazine. One of my first magazines was called Solomon's Herald, and it was about the paraphernalia industry that I was a part of. We started it in McAlpin Hotel, the McAlpin Hotel in New York, and I wrote about it. I welcomed high times to the paraphernalia industry, and I was the first distributor for High Times magazine in Texas. I traveled to every head shop that was springing up around the country, selling peace symbols, patches, and stickers for a company owned by an Armenian out of Detroit, out of Michigan. I went to work for him, and I sold those peace symbols to Kmart, to Spencer's Gifts, and to every head shop in the country. You know, it was a counterculture movement. Yeah, we had Dennis Hopper. Yeah, we had, you know, I rode with a dozen of my fellow club members to the theater in downtown Fort Worth on 7th Street. We brought probably a dozen bikers in there to watch Easy Rider with Dennis Hopper, Jack Nicholson, and Peter Fonda. And I met Peter Fonda several times since then, because Peter Fonda also filmed one of his movies called The Trip at the San Souci Temple in L.A., South L.A. And there we go, we got Jerry in here.
Well, you know, Clay, David has something. Dave, you there?
Yes, sir.
Dave has something to say about Easy Rider, because in that video there's a lot about Easy Rider and who Fonda, Hopper, and
Nicholson was in it too.
Nicholson actually represents, according to the video, and it makes good sense, didn't it, Dave?
That's right. I actually.
I mean,
it's
it's a real shocker. See, the whole that whole movement, that counterculture was a lead on. I'll be very honest with you. At that time of my life, I was doing 3 years in Great Meadow Correctional Institution, a few months spent in Elmira Reformatory, and the rest, Nassau County Jail to Elmira Reformatory. That took 5 months of it. The other 31 was spent in Comstock, and I was really, I hate to say it, against that hippie movement. But those hippies were right. But they were being led, according to this video, and the video makes sense. You know, people wonder what happened to the movement. Even in the great song by Smash Mouth, you might be walking on the sun. Smash Mouth talks about that 60s counterculture movement. It was a great time. When I came home, I woke up, and I started to realize, you know what? The goddamn hippies were right. 100% right. They believed in anarchy, and anarchy is not violence, it's not rebelling, it's freedom, it's libertarianism, not liberalism. Actually, in the original sense of the word, liberal means tolerant. Today, the words have been doctored. The meanings have changed. A liberal today is not tolerant at all. He or she is despicable. They claim to care about other people. They don't care about anybody but themselves, but they talk a hell of a game. It's like Hillary twisted sister Clinton. She's a Freemasonic witch, a murderess, a whore. She's a fucking whore of Babylon. And the United States, in biblical prophecy, whether it's a planned format of an agenda or prophecy, you decide. But she is the whore of Babylon. America is Babylon. A nation that has deceived the nations of the world with lies and propaganda. The whole nonsense about the G.I. Joe image, that G.I. Joe is coming to save you from yourself. What nonsense. G.I. Joe was working for the military-industrial complex. He was working for the Jews. You know, I did that video, which Clay didn't play part of it on, we played the second part of it about the United States and the cavalry, but the video, original one, a video of me doing a lip sync of the great Johnny Prescott song, Running Bear, and the story is two Indians, one loved the other one, but they were from different tribes. Their tribes was not with each other, and they lived on different sides of a raging river, so they dove in the water to swim. But like I say in the video, the real is they didn't dive in the water to swim. Little White Dove was being chased by cavalry, who was really under the influence of the British Empire, which wanted to kill Indians, just like they killed blacks, and they murdered and raped the Indian women, the indigenous peoples. So she jumped in the water to avoid being raped, and him, being a very powerful swimmer, swam out to catch her. The river couldn't bring him down. Those American Indians or indigenous people are very strong, powerful people. They have the force, they have the spirit. They're well built and they fear nothing. That's why you see them work on skyscrapers. They walk the rails. They're not afraid. We actually probably saved Little White Dove, but then they were both gunned down by cavalry. You know, people glorify General George Strong Custer. I used to. That was the first book I ever had. When I was 5 years old, I learned how to read Custer's Last Stand, but the guy was an animal. He was a beast. I'm glad the son of a bitch got killed. He was out there murdering Indians for no reason at all, other than doing the job that his evil commanding officers who were under control of the Jews who ran the country even back then, to kill Indians, just like they ran the slavery. And then recently in Texas, they were putting out textbooks in the schools saying that the black people came to America for jobs, for better working conditions. Not even slaves. What unadulterated balderdash! Of course, the textbooks written by McGraw-Hill, who's controlled by Jews, were taken out because the black parents, complained. This is the situation in America. Everything you're taught of import is a bold-faced lie. And yet you salute the flag on the 4th of July. You put a flag out, the very flag the waves have given rights away. Shame on you. This country is a sewage plant, a kosher sewage plant.
Now,
every time a politician speaks, the word comes out of his mouth is nothing more than a Jewish bowel movement.
All right, so while we're back on that subject, I got to tell you, they were some of the trolls in here trying to say, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do that. I did it all. I did not go to Vietnam. I've never said that I went to Vietnam. They tried to kill me before I got there. For whatever reason, whether it was the injections or something else, I don't know. But it took me 50 years to even get recognized by the VA. They did their best to hide the fact that I did serve. And I did help start the paraphernalia industry. I did help start the militias around the country. And my first motorcycle club, after I left and went to Arizona, because I wouldn't wear a helmet in Texas, I wouldn't ride in Texas when they passed a helmet law. The club that I was in then was called the Ghost Riders out of Useless, Texas, and they became the Banditos. Now, I did time with Mother Chambers over at Cofield TDC's Cofield unit, and he was a nice guy. Hardly what you would think of as a monster or even a gang leader. He was a good man, and we were friends at that point in time when I wrote my books on the whole Lucifer series and the Solomon series, which I have not introduced you to. And this troll here kicked him out. My history does not exist online? You're damn right it doesn't. I write books about my history, you ignorant son of a bitch. Just more of this trolls here on the internet, hiding behind my friend's name. All they do is add a space here. All they do is add a space, David. You're on the chat room, so you can see that. Your history does not exist, he says. Oh, my God. And by the way, the paraphernalia industry that I helped start was run by Jews. Adam's Apple, Don Levin was Jewish. Linter Enterprises, Sheldon Linter, he was Jewish. And Sheldon was a great guy. He was a nice guy. And we did a lot of business together. Made a lot of money with the Jews in the paraphernalia industry. Russell?
Yep. Go ahead.
Every movement, including the whole paraphernalia movement, gets infiltrated, and they try to turn it. They saw a chance to make money, and so the Jews came into it. Not faulting them for it. Most of them were good men. They made their money, and that's fine. We did do something. Matter of fact, one of my friends, Jack Hara, I knew him and his sons. He was Jewish, and he wrote Emperor Wears No Clothes, the history of hemp in this country, who stole it from us, who took it from us, and he was absolutely accurate. And I'm glad I was able to help him get that book out. I was a distributor of that book. I had a full-page ad for that book in the Free American magazine. You don't, and as a biker, we would go to the park. I'd go to the park with my friends, my fellow riders, club members. We'd go to the park in Dallas, Oakland District. And if we saw any jocks hassling the hippies there, we stepped in. Hey, guys, we got long hair. Yeah, we smoke dope. Try to throw us out of the park. Lay a hand on one of these hippies here and see what happens to you. We protected the hippies. We helped with that movement, and yeah, I had Smoking Stone key rings hanging in 7-Eleven stores. Yeah, I made some money off of it. All right. We are right now, what's happening in Colorado and Oregon, possibly Alaska, and what's happened in 20 states where they've got medical marijuana. I'm not a big fan of medical marijuana. I smoked it for 45 years when it was still illegal in every state. We need to abolish the laws against victimless crimes and let anybody grow it and smoke it that wants to. You can, people have asked me, Russell, David, isn't marijuana a gateway drug? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a gateway drug if you gotta buy it from a drug dealer who'll be happy to sell you the CIA's cocaine or heroin.
Clay?
Yes, sir.
I gotta agree with you. I don't like the idea of medical marijuana because, to me, it should be available to anybody. You should be able to grow as much as you want, possess as much as you want, and it should cost nothing. It's from the earth. God gave it to us, which He describes in His Word, as you tell us, the plant of renown, because the war on drugs, and I don't have to explain to most of your listeners that the war on drugs is a war on us, mostly on marijuana,
Absolutely.
on our cash crop that before Harry J. Edslinger signed our lives away by using a certain word, by turning it into marijuana from hemp, using the Mexican word.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was called hemp or cannabis. They did it because to denigrate the drug, not the drug, to denigrate the herb by saying Mexicans, and they depicted they said only blacks. They denigrated the blacks and the Mexicans, saying because they call it marijuana in Mexico. And I agree with Dave about this medical marijuana because once the government gets their hands on it, they'll take any medical benefit out of it.
Russell, it was so effective
And
using the name marijuana. Most government officials did not realize that they had effectively killed the legal hemp industry because he used the word marijuana. They thought it was two different things. I mean, that brings a whole new meaning to it.
And,
go ahead. That's all I had to add.
In the Popular Mechanics, back in the 30s, they referred to hemp as our #1 cash crop. #1 cash crop. And it was stolen from us. That's why William Randolph Hearst was given that castle on the mountain there in California. Because he helped demonize it. And a lot of powerful people didn't want us growing hemp. Hearst was one of them. He'd prefer to cut down trees and make paper out of them when your Constitution and your Bill of Rights was written on hemp paper. Encyclopedia Britannica for 100 years was printed on hemp paper. It's and of course, you know, the medical industry certainly didn't want hemp competing with them. I've smoked pot for 45 years, 50 years now, and I don't get sick. I don't get sick. So, cures cancer. We've had people on my show that cured cancer using hash oil in Canada, and he had to move to Yugoslavia or someplace in that area to get away from the persecution. This idiot pretending to be Jerry says Clay Douglas did not start the militia. I did. Clay is an imposter. Long live the Jews of Alabama. That's how they operate, folks. That's what they do. And they've done it to me ever since I started the Free America. Now, even the Jews, the top Jews in the ADL and Southern Poverty Law, they love to give me credit for doing that. So you're a little out of your league there, troll. But this is what's happened to the internet. Most people can't discern who these trolls are, and it's one of the problems with the internet. You don't meet people face to face. If we could meet these writers and these people that put the articles, if we could meet them face to face around a campfire, they wouldn't be doing this shit anymore. We'd just slap the shit out of them and move on. Yeah. Jerry, the real Jerry on the chat room, says some people have alleged that cannabis seeds have already been genetically modified, and the only way to get pure stuff is to have a stash of seeds from decades ago. It's a possibility. They certainly sprayed marijuana with paraquat back in the 60s. It was healing too many people, so they tried to make it bad for you. They failed. Because the plant heals itself. The cannabis seeds, the hemp seeds, go so far, have such a deep root system, that they restore the soil by using the hemp as a rotational crop. Our farmers and the food that was grown by our self-sufficient family farms was the best in the world. It could be that way again, folks. You just got to remember, you know, I tried for medical marijuana in Texas, or in Arizona, and I couldn't get them on. I couldn't get it. Why? Because I was too healthy. I was too healthy. And why would I pay a doctor? Why would I bribe a doctor with a prescription to get a prescription for something that God gave me? That's why I'm not a fan of medical marijuana. It's a way for the pharmaceutical companies, the AMA, and the doctors to try to hold on and keep getting some money. That's why I'm against the whole medical marijuana thing. Legalize it all. I'll tear down that fence. Yeah, that's another thing. Donald Trump wants to build a fence between us and Mexico, right? Because the marijuana is getting up here too easily. And I'm not. I got a link here now. In some ways, what Trump is saying here is good. He is trying to, he wants to stop illegal immigration. But, let me share a commercial that he's doing, and you'll see what's wrong with Trump. I'm going to play this commercial, and then I want your...
We are under 90 days from the Iowa caucus, and this morning, Donald Trump is ready to hit the airwaves in the early contest states with his $300,000 buy, and we have an exclusive first look at the very first radio spot. Take a listen.
Donald Trump learned the values of hard work, determination, and faith at an early age. He went on to build one of the world's most iconic brands and companies, which employs thousands of people. Donald Trump is running for president because politicians are all talk and no action. They will never make our country great again. He'll stop illegal immigration and drug trafficking by building a wall on our southern border, and he will make Mexico pay for it. He will negotiate great trade deals and make our military so strong, no country will ever mess with us. Donald Trump will protect Israel and brutally and quickly cut the head off of ISIS. He is self-funding his campaign. He will only be responsible to the American people, not special interests and lobbyists. It's time to make America great again, maybe greater than ever before. Vote Donald Trump for president.
I'm Donald Trump. I'm running for president, and I approve this message.
And in another ad, you're going to like this, we hear directly from the candidate himself.
I'm Donald Trump, and I'm running for president. Our country is in deep trouble because, let's face it, politicians are all talk, no action. My opponents have no experience in creating jobs or making deals. The fact is, I'm going to make the greatest trade deals we've ever made in our country, and I'm going to bring jobs and money back to the United States. I'll take care of our veterans and make our military so strong that nobody will mess with us. I'll secure our borders, and yes, we will have a wall. You can't have a country without borders. And I'll make sure that the Second Amendment and our religious liberties are protected. Obamacare is a total disaster. It will be repealed and replaced with something much better. If the people of Iowa vote for me, you'll never be disappointed. I don't disappoint people. I produce. Together, we're going to make America great again. I'm Donald Trump, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
First, we are under 90 days.
And yet, Donald Trump is speaking out on behalf of Israel, on behalf of the Jews that have subjected you and are responsible for making you a slave in your own country. Russell, David, any comments? I'd like to believe that there is somebody. Trump does have the money. He doesn't have to depend on the Jews to finance him, but he has done business with and dealt with the Jews. Is that a plus or is it a minus? Russell?
don't believe a word Trump said. He's a plant. He's there to take votes away from the other major candidates so Hillary could get in. He'll talk a good game against GMOs. He'll talk about illegal immigration. And folks, I want to stress a point here. There is no such thing as illegal immigration because in 2005, George Bush Jr., Poppy Bush, the Prozac kid, the lunatic who let 911 happen, told NORAD to stand down, made believe he was shocked, made believe he was a big hero by throwing the first pitch out in the World Series of 2001. Great World Series, by the way, of which the Yankees lost, unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned. George Bush, the whole thing is a joke. The man is a traitor, like all of them, and I can't stress this enough. If you watch television, if you watch mainstream news, whether it's CNN or Fox, whether it's BBC, whether it's CBS or NBC, you're being fooled, you're being brainwashed, you're being programmed. If you watch the silly sitcoms, you're being programmed. If you watch the fake History Channel, you're being programmed. There is nothing on TV that is good, with the exception of maybe certain shows on FX, AMC, Stars, or HBO. Everything else is total brainwashing that only a mind-controlled nincompoop would watch. I can't fathom how someone could watch silly sitcoms and ridiculous lies that are taught on the History Channel. And people think they're educated because they watch the History Channel. No. Indoctrinated, brainwashed, brain knowledge of all the news would say. Adulterated horse shit. But this is what the message that follows. Somebody watches TV, they watch it. Somebody jumps in the lake, they jump in the lake. Somebody's immoral, they are immoral. They're waiting for social approbation and the approval of their fellow man, a bunch of other nincompoops, and they'll do anything for instant gratification. And until that is changed, until people wake up and wash out the dogma, the nonsense that they've been indoctrinated with, they have no hope.
Well, interesting here, something just popped up. Might have heard that pop up on my thing. Hurricane Patricia has strengthened to an incredibly dangerous Category 5 hurricane. And this is maximum winds of 160 miles an hour. It's going to make landfall on Mexico's southwest coast Friday evening. And that'll affect us here in Texas, possibly California, Arizona, and other things here. Talking about wind speeds up
Wait a minute, Clay.
Yes.
Where's it going to be at?
It's making landfall on Mexico's Pacific coast. Hang on a minute.
All right, so it's not hitting the Gulf then, so in Texas you should be safe, right?
Yeah, not necessarily.
Oh, I guess, all the hurricanes Florida has, and I've seen many hurricanes on the East Coast and, of course, in New York. I've seen the bad ones. I've been through them. Where I am now, this house I own now, that has been in a family for years, and it's paid for, thank God, we haven't had any hurricane damage in maybe 150 years. And now that they know I live here, they'll stay even further away because I'm a hurricane in myself.
Take it over here, Russell. I got to go get some more coffee.
All right. Folks, I hope sincerely, we taught you something today. I think this, we taught you about the dating sites. We taught you about the United States is still a British colony. And by the way, you could YouTube that or Google it, and you could get yourself a free book. It's on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Phoenix Speaks, and then the other slash, Phoenix Speaks 1, I'm sorry, the number 1. Phoenix Speaks 1 and the other, and then the other slash. You know, folks, David made a great point. That video on the counterculture is just mind-boggling. I hope you accept that. And I know those of you out there who were hippies or old-timers from the 60s, I know that's a shocker that you were part of a movement that was destined to fail from day one. It was actually started by the powers that be, the evil rulers of America, through their CIA. And it's a shocker, but you know, you can't deny it if you think about it. If you really think about it. Jim Morrison, Stephen Stills, David Crosby, Neil Young, and we go on and on, all had parents working for a secret military base in the valley outside of, in the suburbs of LA. That's where the movement started. There's nothing honorable about that. It didn't start in Hyde-Ashbury or in the Village in New York. It started where that video stated they started. So it had an agenda to denigrate the war protesters, to bring them out into the surf, out of the closet, with the music, captivate them, get them psyched up, and then denigrate them, and then destroy the movement. And then, to calm all you people down because of the losses that you felt angry about of losing a loved one, a husband, a boyfriend, a child, a grandchild, it actually shut you up with this movement. Because it brought you out and shut you up and got you all full about it with the silly disco music, which I liked, and I was part of that disco era. You were dancing around saying, love is in the air. Meanwhile, you lost your child, your spouse, or another loved one. This is what the United States does. They got it all figured. They know every move you make. They know how to manipulate you, how to get you to react in a certain way. By the way, I was speaking about illegal immigration. Immigration is not illegal because George Bush signed over the United States to the Pan-American Union in 2005. We have no boundaries. Wake up. They're not building a wall, as Trump said. They're not going to stop illegal immigration. It's all spin, all nonsense to get you not to vote for the Republican candidate and then go to because I believe Donald Trump will wind up running as an independent and take votes away. I don't believe he'll get the Republican nomination. I believe that there's a good chance Jeb Bush or someone else will. But he'll take the votes away. That's what he's there for. So Hillary, the mad, twisted sister, Freemasonic, murdering witch, gets into office. That's who they want. They had an alleged black man in there who is not black, and he's not white. He's Jewish.
Carson?
Because his mother is a Jew.
Are you talking about Carson?
No, I'm talking about Obama. His mother's a Jew. That makes him a Jew. Very simple. But he was not the first Jewish president because Dwight Eisenhower was actually called the mad Swedish Jew at West Point because he has Jewish blood. The whole thing is a charade, folks. Keep going to the elections. Keep adding another link on a chain that you're bearing and carrying that's being wrapped around you. The time is upon you. A great storm is brewing. The tide is high. And there's always a lull or a period of quietude before the storm. The greater the lull, the greater the storm. This storm will be a mighty one. It will kill millions of Americans. The rest will be enslaved in FEMA camps, reprogramming camps, or transformed biogenetically into a subhumanoid. That's their plans. They have the technology. You see it in the movies. They show it to you. You think it's only a movie, but it's not. They're telling you exactly what they're going to do to you, but you want to make believe that it's just a movie. Just like my dumbass ex-wife, who was a complete moron, who was raised with rose-colored glasses. Well, folks, when you see me, take off the rose-colored glasses if you talk to me, because they'll only break and you'll get that fucking kosher glass in your eye. You'd be better off buying a Daisy Red Ryder and shooting your eye out. Trust me. Because I'm not here to mollycoddle you. I'm here to shake you, wake you, and break the chains that bind you, if you're able to wake up. Many of you cannot, because of your erroneous belief systems, your cognitive dissonance, and the other disorder you have, Stockholm Syndrome, which is why you worship your enslavers. And you think they're heroes because they're dressed in fine haberdashery, because they smile, because they have a vocabulary, because they come out with a speech that, believe me, folks, they did not write. It was written by the rabbis who own Capitol Hill. That's who writes all the scripts. We haven't had a president since John F. Kennedy. Reagan was not president. Bush was puppet at that time. He served the Zionist Anglo-American Empire, and he watched over Reagan. Reagan was the front man. That's all he was. He even said he don't know what he spoke of when he was president, because they gave him a script and he read it. And he's used the scripts because he was a pretty good actor. When I say a pretty good actor, he was a B actor, not even a B-plus actor. As opposed to the other so-called presidents who were nothing more than C and D actors.
I always liked Death Valley days, but...
What's that?
I said I always kind of liked Death Valley days.
That was a great show, wasn't it?
That was Reagan.
Yeah, that was really a great show.
Yeah.
Death Valley Days was awesome. Do you remember the old guy at the beginning talking about it? That was, you know what, I haven't even thought of that show in many, many, many years. I was that as a kid. I loved it.
Yeah,
my grandfather, Pappalardo, he was the best.
We haven't really had much progress. You know, the music in the 60s, you know, Steppenwolf, Country Joe and the Fish, they were better than any of the music that you get on the Clear channel now. Of course, Mitt Romney,
by the way,
Clear
Clay,
channel.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because in that video that what me and David talked about, there's a thing on Steppenwolf. He lived over there by that secret military base too. He was part of that big scam. But we loved the music, you know, Born to Be Wild, Magic Carpet Ride. How about Inagata Davida? Or Mississippi Queen by Mountain. I mean, there was some great stuff. Jefferson Airplane. You know, before they changed their name to Jefferson Starship.
Grace Slick.
Oh, yeah, that was great stuff. Gracie Slick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Early, Sonny and Cher, and the beat goes on. The Byrds. The Byrds were probably the first group that started it all, but I believe that a lot of the Byrd stuff might have been written by Dylan. I know he worked with him quite a bit.
Russell, I really believe that maybe a lot of that early rock and roll was based from Dylan's movement in excuse me, in New York, because they did call it folk rock, right?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And Dylan played in the Village back in the early days. And I never saw him there, but I know he played there in 60.
Are you still there? What did I do? Did I lose something here?
Can you still hear me, Cliff?
Yes, I can hear you. But I've lost Russell here. Where'd you go,
I
Russell?
don't hear it anymore.
Yeah, call back in, Russell. All right. All right, got you back now, Russell. Go ahead. David's still with us.
David's right. You know, Dylan was a part of this. I got to ask you a question, and I'm pretty sure he is. But is Dylan Jewish?
I don't know. That may be.
I'm Googling it right now. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to find out.
Now, Jerry in the chat room is asking about a link on the video that you were talking about. I don't know what video it was that you were talking about. And Jerry says, yes, he's Jewish.
Amazing. Okay, let's see some. I believe Jerry is right. I mean, I'm sure I heard this before, but I want to see this.
Yeah, Robert Zimmerman, Bob Dylan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Abraham Zimmerman and Beatrice Betty Stone were part of the area's small but close-knit Jewish community. Robert Zimmerman lived in Duluth till age 6. When his father had polio and his family returned to his mother's home, living with the family spent the rest of his childhood. Oh yeah, he's Jewish.
What was that video that you were talking about? Jerry wanted to know about the video that you were talking about.
All right, hold on. I'm going to get where it is.
I had walked into get my coffee, so I might have missed that.
I'm going to tell you exactly where it is on my timeline, including the comments. Go to my timeline, but it's not the first, not the second, not the third, not the fourth, not the fifth, not the sixth, seventh, not the eighth, not the ninth, and
you're breaking up on me, Russell. You're breaking up on me. I'm not able to copy anything that you just said. Fuck you. Goodbye. Alright. Let's see if we can get Russell's timeline up here.
Amazing. I'm going to have to repost it. Hold on a minute. I got to find it. Dave sent it to me last night. Alright. I'll have it up this second.
Alright,
Tell them to go to my timeline. Right now, it'll be posted, the first post. Give me a second, hold on a minute, I'll have it up there in a minute. Alright, it's the first post on my timeline. It's Dave McGowan on Weird Scenes. It is awesome. It is, on my timeline, which is a public figure page, which is Phoenix Speaks 1, and then the forward slash. Phoenix Speaks in cat. Don't separate the word Phoenix and Speaks, and then get with the number 1. It'll be like coming right after the S and Phoenix Speaks and then forward slash. That's my Facebook page. In other words, Facebook.com/Phoenix Speaks together as one word, and the number 1 is part of that word, and then / is the first post on my timeline. I'm going to put a heading to it, so I suppose the heading is as spoken about on today's show.
Alright. Dave McGowan on Weird Scenes Inside Laurel Canyon. Is that it?
It's mind-boggling.
I tell you what, fellas, this was a hell of a show, and next time we can talk about if you've ever heard of such a subject before. Paul McCartney is dead.
I don't know, but you know what? Yeah, that's another one. I heard he died many years ago.
I didn't know about it either, Russell, but like I said, too many collective minds are just saying the same thing with the same sources, pretty much the same framework, and that's just something you can't dismiss anymore. And even before George Harrison died, he made a video revealing all this.
So welcome to Big Vibrations. We're up to volume 43. Welcome back to all the regulars and
however,
to all the listeners. You might want to go back and check out some of the previous volumes. We've covered all kinds of alternative subjects that you don't normally hear talked about elsewhere, from chemtrails to paedophilia in the British establishment, natural law to reincarnation to projection,
in 1986, when he made Devil's Radio
of Stanley Kubrick.
I'm sorry, 1987, that song completely destroyed the media, and that's what he was trying to do. And he did a great job of it. Its song, folks, is called Devil's Radio by George Harrison. It is that awesome. In fact, I think I'll do a lip sync of it this afternoon and put it on my Facebook page. It'll be there by 10 tonight. And I'll head it with, as promised, the listeners on today's Blog Talk Radio show. And let's see if we could look up George Harrison on the charade of on George Harrison speaks on Paul McCartney died. Folks, that's about it. It's 11:57. I'm going to say good afternoon to you all. Have a great weekend. To my listeners, to those loyal fans outside, of which David is one, to the other David, to the many people who call up, to Jerry who said Dylan was a Jew, I thank you. I thank all of you. Thank you, Clay. And to the rest of you, the shills, the ones who don't want to wake up, who don't like me, well, know this and know it well. I fucking don't like you either. Have a great day to the rest of you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. And It's freeamerican.com is the way you can make a donation. Hopefully you will do that to keep this level of information coming in. The trolls out there and the government agents, they don't want you knowing the information or even thinking the way that we do. God bless you, and thanks again. Thanks for checking in, David. Thanks for listening to all of you. God bless you. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.